Hello there, Julija here from the Cosmic Intelligence Agency. We are here today to present for you the Equinox update, 2019 Libra Equinox. And today I have with me a very special agent from the other side of the world. I'm in Melbourne, Australia, celebrating the spring equinox. And I have with me today Jonassen, agent 32, from Norway. Welcome, 32.
Thank you, darling.
How are you going over there?
Well, we are preparing to enter into darkness. We are definitely preparing to go into a more, how do you say, moody season. It's quite different. It's you can feel changing. Something is, we're preparing for a more inwards journey in many ways.
Yeah, as the sun wanes away or goes towards now closer to the winter solstice for you guys, we're going the opposite. We've just had our Virgo season. I'm just forgot to put my earphones in, so one sec.
Oh,
this makes for a better recording. But we've just had our Virgo season here in Australia, and we were chatting the other day about how Virgo season, although it's not the harvest for us here, it still very much suits the spring cleaning, the getting ready, like the tidying up, the clearing out that gets us ready for summer. And the Libra season, although again it's not going into autumn, we are going into spring. It becomes the real social season for us in the southern hemisphere as summer sort of arrives and spring. So it still really suits, like the axis of astrology, just really, you know, again, some people say can't work down there because it's all about the seasons, but it does, as polarities in astrology do. What do you think of that?
Oh, I definitely agree. I think a lot about polarities. I spend a lot of time thinking about polarities, especially because I come from evolutionary astrology, and there's this concept of polarity points, evolutionary astrology, and it just makes you think. So at one point I discovered that, I wonder if there's only like 6 signs and they just reflect a duality, you know, Libra to Aries, and Cancer to Capricorn, they belong together. And I can definitely understand what you're saying there. You know, like we should be entering a more social season with Libra. But in Libra, we also, it's the point of equilibrium between being outward going and then coming in again to yourself, right? So it makes sense that you've already spent this winter season being, you know, in that kind of hibernation. So, you know, it's same, but different. It just describes.
That's correct. So you guys are squirreling away the nuts for winter. Yeah. What do you prepare for? How do you prefer? I suppose the kids go back to school or just have recently, that sort of thing, after long summers.
Yeah, Virgo for me especially is like coming back to routines again. You know, it's like we've had that Leo Cancer season where we've just been having fun, you know, just a lot of fun. And then come back to this routine and the daily rhythm and the things we have to do. So I have this same feeling every time the sun goes out of Leo. I'm like, oh, come on, I got to get this everyday thing going again. I'm getting eager to get back into, you know, work and rhythm and just get things done again.
Yeah.
So it's very special. But for me, these seasons they are very spiritual, you know, like Virgo is a time for purification of something deep inside of our hearts. It's where we begin to understand on a more conscious level that we are in this together. You know, we are in it together. We all need to stay kind of clean in our hearts. And I was thinking about this mythology of the scales and the weighing of the feather of the heart. When we, you know, the Egyptians believed that when you came into the afterlife, your heart was weighed on, and on the other end of the scale was the feather.
Mat, wasn't it?
The goddess of justice, fairness, good deeds, reciprocity, you know, all these things that, you know, we need to become aware of if we want good social and personal relationships. So it's been, you know, it's very confronting in many ways. You know, I think, you know, this is when the self.
It's like you put on your best face. your best attitude. You're inviting people into your life in Libra, so to speak. So anyway, we're going to focus more in a sense on where am I sharing? Sorry, one sec. What's going on? I can't find my
You lost your share button?
I've lost my, it's not sharing what I want it to. Oh, hang on, I've got to open this and then start share. Something's going on today. It always does. All right, let's go to
That's
this.
what happens when you go into the spaceship, darling. It gets really, really
It's a
far.
bit weird up here at the moment. There it is. There it is. Oh, when you're the only one on the controls, I tell you what, that makes a difference. I need a, well, you're my co-pilot today, but you're not. We're not in the same place, so that's a bit of a shame. Although it would be good to be in a place together more often, wouldn't it?
Well,
we'll have to work on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Libra, the sign of Libra, the place in astrology charts that, in a sense, we call the place of sunset. You know, that social hour as well, the end of the day, the evening, where, you know, we meet for dinner or before dinner and all that kind of stuff. So Libra, you know, we get a sense of that time of year, if it's the season of autumn or if it is the season of spring. So let's continue on. Now, we're getting gremlins in the system. Sol, is that from your feedback, maybe?
Is there a gremlin in my system?
I don't know. I can hear things that maybe.
Probably my cat. Let me take the cat away.
No, maybe just mute yourself, and when you talk, you know, unmute. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, thanks. That'd be great. Okay. So, that's better. So, yeah, there's just too much periphery sound coming out. So what, I mean, a lot of us are, of course, used to is the wheel of the year, stemming from the pagan calendar, in a sense, the original calendar, which was the 8 quarters of the year. And we know those 8 quarters of the year as, going too fast, as, you know, starting in March at around Ostara, which is, in a sense, where Australia or the Southern Hemisphere is now, seasonally, right? But of course, we're in September and discussing what, you know, showing what we were discussing just before. So out of the wheel of 8, you know, that many of us understand that. Of course, astrologers, you know, work with a wheel of 12, not just with the seasons, but we have, you know, 12 sections of a year with 3 parts to every season. I'm just showing here how, if we've got the starting point here of Aries, this is the southern autumn. In the northern hemisphere, of course, it's spring, which is what it is now, the opposite way around. But again, as we talked about with polarities, they're very much, the polarities of the signs are very much in each other. Like Virgo doesn't really exist without the Pisces sort of, maybe you wouldn't say half, would you, Sol? But it is a very big part of understanding Virgo, is to understand Pisces. And as we are now, to understand Aries well, we need to understand the opposite sign of Libra just as well, I think. So we divide it, as astrologers do, into the wheel of 12, okay? So that every quarter, or every, like this quarter that we now start in Libra, has got the sign Libra, Scorpio and Sagittarius in it, which represents to the Southern Hemisphere, the springtime, and to the Northern Hemisphere, the autumn time. So, as of course most of us would know as well, it's the cardinal points, the 4 points of the zodiac that we call the cardinal points, are the most significant turning points of the year. Where the sun is at the moment, the sun is crossing the celestial equator to actually make its way down south again. It's been up in the northern hemisphere for the last 6 months, and it's coming back down now to the south. And then every quarter, up at the solstice, for the Capricorn solstice, we have our summer down here. And then for the Mars March equinox, we start our autumn. And of course, the reverse in the Northern Hemisphere. Astrology is mostly based on the Northern Hemisphere perspective, but again, those of us that have been doing it down here for a long, long time now, we can see it very much activated and the same principles applying. So the cross quarter points, as the CIA has always been, let's say, doing a report about the ingresses, as we call, of the cardinal signs. So that's Aries, Libra, Cancer and Capricorn. And of course, Cancer and Capricorn have been a big highlight over the last year and a half because eclipses have been happening here. And what do we call it? Pluto, Saturn on the south node, as we can see in this chart, and so many more things. So Sol, we have the Libra equinox chart here. Now what we do with the Libra equinox chart is kind of gather the story that will be the astrological kind of outlook for the next 3 months. I know there's a lot more sort of updating being done astrologically every day and every week and every month these days, but as a big sort of a bigger picture look, let's decipher this chart a bit with Agent 32. We can see what the main things stand out. What would you say are the main points of this chart, 32?
Well, there is a very, as you mentioned, there is a very, very highlighted conjunction of Mercury and Venus. Venus is in its own sign, right? And Saturn's in its own sign. There's like this very strength around the cardinal cross for this particular equinox charts. And of course, you know, the sun is opposing Chiron in Aries. So there's this certain feel that I guess that we have some relationship issues to work out, especially because Venus also squares Saturn. So we are in a process of becoming extremely conscious about ourselves and our relationship to the world and to Earth in general. And the whole Saturn, Capricorn, Pluto thing, especially Saturn now being for the third and last time on the South Node, which has been like the theme of the summer, last 6 months. There is a certain feel I get of a quality of initiation. And an initiation is always related to an increased awareness about something and becoming increasingly aware of yourself and your actions on a very subconscious level. In Aries, we become aware of our instinctual being, also known as Aries. So we become aware of this Aries energy within ourselves, and our instinctual nature is what creates war. It creates any kind of competition. It creates a lot of our reactive behavior. And when we become aware of that, we get a chance to create something, which is actually the higher meaning of Capricorn, how to become a conscious master of anything, a conscious creator, being a responsible human being and take responsibility for your own karma. Without killing yourself while you're discovering it.
Well, when we've got Chiron and the Black Moon Lilith together in Aries, as you talk about the instinctual, it's like we've got no choice. The instinct builds up and there's a reaction. You know, we react to it, and it's quite a reactive time. We'll see with a few examples that I've put together coming up. But the biggest part of the chart is Mercury squaring the moon and Saturn on the nodes. You know, like it's so accentuating the nodal axis. Saturn in its own sign on the south node. Saturn represents the past, you know, karma, the things that we've worked at, the responsibilities that we take about everything that we do, and the moon, again, the instinctive nature of being led by what feels right, what we feel inside to be what we need, I suppose, all those sort of things. And now being targeted by, you know, Mercury, Venus is there, and of course the sun coming into this action. As you were saying, Sol, you know, the relationships, whatever's been going on before, or, you know, in the last couple of months, now we have this instinct to actually really sort of probably be more aware of what our partners, who the people we work with are up to, and that type of thing, as opposed to the sole operator.
I was teaching a class yesterday on aspects, actually, here in Bergen, and we had a reflection on the cardinal axis. It was very interesting because it starts with Aries, and it's me. It's me, 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 and it's, in a way, that's what we need, but it needs to be refined. There has to be a certain kind of higher awareness and heightened awareness to that kind of centrical point of view. And then it goes to Cancer, where you start to understand your needs, my needs, what I need, how I feel, etc. And then you come to Libra, which is a critical point, because then this us awareness becomes something that we need to take into consideration. And then with Capricorn, it's not just us anymore, and us in a sense that it's me and my crew, it's us. Then it becomes all of us. It becomes we, we're in this together. It's our earth. It's
cooperation, participation. Yeah, like as the Aries, by itself, it's like, sole operator doing things by itself. But Libra introduces or really shows how significant it is to be partnered up, to be working alongside, to be collaborating. So all this, let's say, karma responsibility that we're all kind of gathering with this Capricorn South Nodal stuff going on is now alerting us to, we won't get far without cooperation. We won't get far without, being sole operators is not going to help. I see that's kind of a message coming through here for sure.
But I think, I want to just add a little thought to the cooperation thing and compromises and meeting
Compromise, that's the other word,
Yeah. I mean, it's not a compromise if only one is compromising. It has to be equality. And that's why I think, this whole mythology of Libra is connected to the goddess Mart, where your heart is weighed in by the principles, against the principles of justice and fairness and equality. Did you respect others? Did you treat them fairly? Who are you in this creation? Is it just me? Are we finally getting ready to move out of a purely subjective awareness? There's a lot of niceties happening on Earth that is very, subjectively, like it's to feed your own subjective desires. I like the Earth to be a nice place because I can't deal with pain. Now that's a very selfish motive to make the world a nicer place. And that's not true cooperation. But I think what Capricorn does to us is that it invites us in to see what is fake energy and fake intention, and what is real intention, what is really what is it, what would really create something that could last forever, that is not connected to these fake power structures and to this this kind of fake power energy. This is what goes on in my mind for the time being. I'm a little bit obsessed.
Well, it's the representation of the systems that are crumbling. Pluto, Saturn, South Node, and which brings me to the other sort of big aspect happening in the sky at the moment, Jupiter square Neptune, and it's the third aspect that they've got, third and last aspect in this waning square, which really brings up this whole issue of where are we off to? Where are we going? We know we have to tidy up the past and get so sort of much more ready for the future, but it is not the clearest timing at the moment.
I think it's so interesting. I think I did like a webinar or something on it, like at the beginning of 2019, because I saw that come. We're going to have 3 squares of Jupiter, Neptune, and that Saturn thing, as a to that's like so bipolar in my world. It's like on one end you have like the Jupiter Neptune, it's like, woohoo, my credit cards are not on fire, but they are. And then Saturn is like, no, you have to pay the interest rates, So it's like kind of like I'm going to have 300 cups of coffee and then you have to pay the consequences. So I'm super glad this square is over, because it's this confusion it can bring in. It's this lack of clarity, lack of faith, actually. what the world went through with the fires in Amazon and everything, it's like we are like holding on to this little flicker of hope that this might just work out, that we have some kind of future, and that we are not like doomed. And I'm, you know, like, I've learned a lot about.
Well, we're doomed if we think we're doomed, don't we?
Exactly. You know, like, I've learned so much about the power of illusion in this time, your fantasy, how we can take off on some weird bad trip in our mind where we think we know the truth, but we just have this intuitive capacity to travel along lines of thought, free thinking, you know, and end up in bad places. And we should all be mindful of that, I think, at this particular time, unless we want to suffer a lot, of course, or get really high and then crash really low afterwards.
So, yeah, no doubt all of you out there have had your trials this year in so many ways, and different ways for everybody, really, or different intensities, because of, you know, if you've got planets at around 16 degrees of Pisces or around 17 degrees of Sagittarius, you know, you would have been feeling it, planets or angles, you know, a lot more. And of course, with orbs on either side. Now, bringing me to the, you know, the point that there's a lot of planets in rulership at the moment. So they're very, very strong. Astrologically, we see that as like Saturn's in its rulership, Jupiter's in its rulership. They're really making very big statements when they go through their own signs. Venus is in Libra. What else have we got there? Neptune in the modern rulership of Pisces. So they're really accentuating what they're actually here and teaching us at the moment. I mean, I see all movements of the planets, all aspects as they come to us. It's like what you were saying before, so we're going through an initiation. Some of us might not remember the last time Jupiter squared Neptune, or, you know, anything like that, but it's another, you know, 12 further down the track cycle that we're going through to be initiated into another new awareness and perception. So it's a constantly changing energy when you actually looking at astrology, aren't you? So as we were saying, Jupiter and square Neptune, it's the third and final waning part of the square. Just an interesting thing to look at is that the last time, or that the cycle began, was May 2009. And I remember making a movie about Neptune at that time, because it was Neptune's return at 26 degrees of Aquarius, and Jupiter was with Neptune at the time. So it's sort of like accentuated Neptunian issues before Neptune went into Pisces. I'm not sure do you remember around that time, Sol, at all?
Exactly what I did. I actually gave my first international lecture around that time. I went to Israel and I did a lecture in in Tel Aviv about Chiron.
Yeah.
It was the beginning of, well, ever since I've worked internationally, actually, I've had the great privilege of showing my work to a bigger audience. And, you know, that has been, you know, an interesting journey. I've learned a lot about how the world of astrology works. And how and I recently read an article yesterday about a Greek astrologer who was really upset about how the world of astrology works, because you have to be connected in order to get known.
Sure.
So I've been.
You can't just write a few articles and think that you're going to be picked up. You actually got to get yourself out there, don't you?
People have to like you. They have to appreciate you. You have to be kind of cool. You have to be in the group. You have to be in the gang, and like then they want to work with you. And then they're sort of like, oh, let's do a webinar like we're doing right now. But I really love you, Julija, so that's good.
That helps.
You know? Yeah, well, that's friendship. So that's different, you know. But yeah, of course, in a way, you give what you put out there, and a lot of really good astrologers aren't maybe that good with the internet, for instance. You know, now you need really good internet skills in order to promote your astrology, right? So it's really like, it's become very, very crowded the last couple of years, I've noticed.
Sure. Yeah.
There's so much going on. And I'm a little, personally, since I'm strongly influenced by Saturn, I'm always like, oh, should we add more noise to this noise bank? You know, I get a little like this, you know, so I've had I had to go through and work through some really illusions or disillusionments with this Jupiter-Neptune square.
Mm.
Like,
And
it
how's the
wasn't.
cycle going to finish up? And where will you be in 3 years when the cycle finishes up?
Oh
April
my God,
2022.
where is that happening? Do you know?
It's going to be at 24 Pisces in 2022. So the fact that their next meeting is in Pisces is really kind of, this, you can really kind of, let's say, look ahead to amazing dreams coming together around that time. So dream big, guys. You might not be feeling like, I can get there in that time or whatever, but it's amazing, and you'd be surprised what does and can happen with that meeting. It's really kind of very exciting.
Yesterday, I had a student there who was born with this Uranus-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. And we had a little chat about dreaming big.
Early 90s, yeah. Mm-hmm.
We had a little, big dreams, dream big, think big, big, big expansion. And this is a generation that has Pluto, Uranus in Capricorn and Uranus, Neptune in Capricorn and Pluto in Scorpio. And you can sort of get a sense that, dreaming big isn't easy for that generation. I mean, what's the point of dreaming big? It's all going to get lost anyway.
Yeah, right. Mm.
So we're getting into a kind of astral level. Neptune is the astral collective, and like the astral meaning the emotional collective. It's the sea of emotion. Yeah. We're all swimming around it. And we can meet anything there. We can meet sharks and snakes and jellyfish, whatever. There's like full of monsters in the sea, and some of them are just our belief systems. And that's what we get in touch with when we are walking around on Earth. Our belief system, other people's belief system, my belief system, whatever frequency I'm transmitting on. I truly believe it. Yeah, dream big, but dream true dreams.
True dreams. Well, that's the Jupiter square, isn't it? The Jupiter square, is that a real dream, or is that someone else's? Or do you actually believe in the dream? Do you believe in that dream yourself? So this is a test of truth, of finding the truth, of living the truth in a world that's full of so much BS, as we say. Conspiracy theories, propaganda, fake news, all that kind of stuff we've been living with for a while. But how do we decipher through that mess and the chaos of all of that? Of course, we know how we go. We go through what makes sense to us, for what, let's say, ignites us somehow, or, we don't know what's real and what's unreal these days, when, it doesn't even matter about the news you're looking at. It's every time I get online, I've been told something that I shouldn't be doing. Because that's not real, or that's not real, or even sitting in this spaceship, some people wouldn't believe that I'm really up there. But like flat earthers, or talking about Greta Thunberg. I've got her chart that we'll look at in a minute. And even people that think that she's a conspiracy, in the sense that she's been set up by the climate change lobbyists who are making a lot of money out of this whole thing. What do we really know? We've just got to kind of, again, live with the truth that is guiding ourselves, and be very aware of what's going on.
Trust is the opposite, of not being able, skepticism. We're so skeptical now because we've endured so much abuse and trauma, and we've been deceived, and we've been robbed, and we've been, taken.
The people that we trusted have robbed us, the financiers and the governments and all kinds of things.
I read this article about trust that was very like Pisces wake up type of article. Hey, get out of your naivety type of thing. And trust is not something that, we can give it very easily, and we want to trust. We want to trust because we know trust is the foundation for love, and we all want to love. We all want to feel this energy. We don't want to go around being skeptical, shoulders high, looking at the side. We want to feel this, loving world, I love life. But how can we trust when we've seen what happens? When we've experienced waking up? How can we come back to innocence and love? And that's, the article was about you just have to be more detached and just sort of like
very Aquarian.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
there are certain scientific rules to becoming more discriminative, to having a better way of deciphering whether something is bullshit or if it's real, and you just have to, don't jump in so quickly to into people's minds, or react so soon, or
True, until you know more. Yeah.
It stands the test of time, and don't judge you. And then I think Saturn in Capricorn is all reminding us we all have to do our inner work. We all have to sit for meditation. We all have to clean this stuff out of us. If we get hung up with some stupid energy on the internet, just go and breathe. Just get over it. Come on. And then you can start seeing things, what is real and what is bullshit. Oh yeah, suddenly you start actually seeing people where they come from. You start seeing them. And that's different from, judging them.
Yeah.
And then you can still be love, but you can still have that capacity to be able to not be naive. Love is not a naive thing. It's very awakening.
Gosh, I know we've learned so much, haven't we? So how are we adapting that into the lives that we are living, or taking the responsibility for, let's say, what we see in the world we don't like, we don't want to be part of, but we're actually still part of because we're part of the system. So if we want to do more, we can't sort of stand back and just complain about what we're seeing. Do refocus back on yourself and what am I as an individual doing to, let's say, alleviate things, make things better, raise awareness, whatever. We've been talking about that for a while now, but really, it's taking responsibility for what's going on, your fair share.
Yeah, there was a vegan lady at this class, very sweet vegan lady with the South Node in Virgo. And she's super beautiful. And, we were talking about every time, somebody says they're vegan, another one reacts with guilt. And then, you have this war between the vegans and the world, and it's like defensive action going on and stuff like that. Same with, I sometimes catch myself in moralizing. Quite often actually, I can be pretty much, I can be an arrogant, know-it-all person, So and then I just breed defensiveness. I just breed aggressiveness around me. People will just think, what she knows it, everything, like she's got all the answers or what, So this is the Capricorn correction of your ego, you become more humble. And that's, we are born in guilt. And if you tell people the truth in a wrong way, in a very aggressive, dominant, abusive way, they will react with fear and defensiveness because of the inner guilt, right?
Yeah.
So I think, since we're all born in guilt, this whole environmental thing becomes so difficult for us because, come on, we're all breathing. I'm eating. I cannot not do that. I cannot consume. I cannot stop entirely consuming. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm guilty by default just because I'm here. But does that make me guilty? Right? So that's really important things for me because I'm working with healing. And for me, this is so important, especially today. I was reading this biography yesterday. There was a guy who read the book that the mother of Greta Thunberg wrote. And he even... he said, she might even have that Munchausen by proxy problem. Greta Thunberg, she sent her daughters to get like 300 zillion diagnoses. And that's the conspiracy theory against, Thunberg.
Yeah. I've got her chart. We're going to look at her short chart at the end. Because it's just really interesting for the sign of the times and what she's actually got going on, of course. But yeah, so it's just, again, where this Capricornness is collecting and getting denser and heavier over the next few months for all of us. It is about getting serious, getting more serious. But then again, I like what you said, Sol, if we feel guilty for what's going on, but we have to take our role on, though. We do have to take on a certain amount of responsibility for the state of the world, the rubbish we put out, the things that we consume, just all of that. That's Saturn on the South Node. Eliminate waste, eliminate, what's not necessary. That's Saturn's job. And at the South Node, it's actually quite crucial. So, and of course, at this time, Saturn's just, started to go direct. So personally in our lives, we and collectively, we'll just see things kind of coming together a bit more, I suppose. Pluto's also stationing. So they're both on the move. They're both on the move and going to start, for the big gathering that happens in 2020. The climate change rallies that have been happening and are happening with the Extinction Rebellion, and of course the youth rallies that just were, what was it, yesterday? No, Friday, last Friday. With the Mercury squaring the nodes is really significant at this time of the year, because Mercury is the youthful planet. He's the one that does represent the youth, if we were to, pick one in the chart. So, interestingly, I came across David Attenborough's chart, and just kind of, talking about Saturn and stuff. And then I saw this meme, we are running out of time. It's so very, very Saturn. But there is still hope, which kind of summed up the Jupiter-Neptune square. Again, if we feel like we're living in doom and gloom and we're not going to ever get out of it, then we are set for disaster. We need
just jump off the bridge,
Yeah, we may as well.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I really felt that in the collective field. It's this. We're so tired. We just want to give up. It's this feeling that I felt. Like, oh my God, it's so complicated.
It's so complicated. Yeah.
So complicated. It's
too
like
much.
Just yes, that's the energy, and I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know where to begin, and I just want to give up. So this is
I think that
ghost we're struggling with, because we can't let that win. That would be the same as letting the disease win. It's the Star Wars.
It's about doing too much.
Yeah, well, it's Star Wars all over again. I'm so inspired by Star Wars mythology.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Now, we don't have a time for David Attenborough's birth, but he was born 8th of May 1926, so he's well into his 90s. He's had his Pluto opposition. And when we look at his chart, we can see the pioneering, like there's many, many planets in Aries. And I love that we don't know exactly where his moon is. It could actually be in Pisces, because this is set for midday. But have a look at, I like where Eris is, right at 0 of Aries, with Venus, the moon close by somehow, and, such a pioneer into what's going on, of course. And what I especially kind of, relate to, of course, his nodes are exactly how they are now. The South Node in Capricorn and the North Node in Cancer. And his North Node has Pluto conjunct that. So all these transits, of course, around the nodes, he's been quite a highlight in this year anyway so far, with his kind of stance about climate change and that type of thing. And have a look at his T-square of Jupiter opposite Neptune. So he's got that energy that we were talking about. And it's also square Saturn. So he's almost like a really good example of, in a sense, how to keep things together and move towards a better future, for the rest of your life. What an inspiration, though. What a, amazing man. His nodes are also on the same nodes as Pluto's nodes. Right, so Pluto, as the planetary nodes of Pluto are 18 degrees of Capricorn and Cancer, so are David Attenborough's. So that's pretty amazing as well for someone that would be quite an influential figure and teach us so much about the planet, over the last, 50, 60 years of his work.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Legend. So, I believe people like him
I do.
Okay. I believe attending the borough. Oh yes, I'm just reading something online. So yeah, again, a very big inspiration with this Jupiter Neptune. I mean, it would be so good to look at his story of his life in much more. I've always said a biography about some inspirational person with an astrology chart is the way to teach astrology, or get into if you can get a chart of a person that you're really interested in and read their life story, you watch it all unfold. It's a great way to learn astrology. Anyway, more of that to come. And yeah, as I said, Mercury was so, prominent in this solstice, in this equinox chart, squaring Saturn and the moon and the nodes. And being in Libra, Venus in Libra is very close by as well. We talked about the cooperation, the balance needed at this time. It's not just us as a singular entity doing something. We need our team, we need our people, we need our tribe, really, in order to sort of be, again, Mercury connecting everyone in those climate change demonstrations in last Friday. We've got to be very aware about the news, the awareness, what we talked about as well, like, what's going to come to the fore, I suppose, in a more scandalous way. I mean, that's always happening in a certain way, isn't it, through the news and media. But very, very, we're so much more aware of that. Where's that going to lead us in the next couple of months as well? Any thoughts about Mercury in particular, Sol?
Well, I saw this little clip yesterday about Greta Thunberg. She's been widely circulated on the internet of late, and there was this little clip about her. There was this thing about this Republican dude who was talking about why should we do something when the Chinese just decided they will let out 5 times the amount of shit, next year that compared to this year. Why should we do something? And that's the whole Libra thing. Why should I do something when my neighbor is not doing anything? It's that kind of thinking that got us into this problem anyway. We're always just pushing it over to the other one. And it's kind of like, I see it micro macro. I'm very, very concerned with the inner life of man, because I truly believe change starts there, actually, and inner peace, outer peace, this reflection, etc. So I think that will create a correct action in people so that they will start cleaning their own house, their own stuff first, without necessarily, feeling that it's not fair because the other people aren't doing it. This is kind of thing.
That's like, no way to operate.
I do it when nobody else are doing it. I mean, this is the thing that, it comes back from families, and you have the fight between siblings, and you always make me do that when nobody else is, why do I always have to do that? And he gets to, be free,
Well, that's what children do. Yeah, behaving like children, teenagers.
We're still not adults. The planet is full of children. I'm not mentioning any names, but one of the most powerful people on this planet is a 5-year-old stuck in a 70-year-old body, acting out like a child. And we know that. Don't.
And when they don't get what they want, they sort of complain and have hysterics.
And killing them on Twitter and stuff like that. It's just a child. And there aren't many real adults on this planet. We are pretending, all of us, to just, age and adulthood is not necessarily the same thing. But we're looking for the wise ones. We're looking for the elders. We're looking for those who have the integrity to actually, we can actually believe. Yeah. And Greta is, in a way, she's
Well, she's doing amazing work to be noticed. I love the things that she says about, like, don't invite us here to tell us how inspiring we are. We want you to do something about it. We don't need the praise. We're not doing this to be praised, right? We want you to do something about it. Those that, have the power to change things.
Think about it, Jules. An adult could never say these things because it's like this special power you get as a child because you're pure then. You come with no intention to power abuse. It's like, I just say it because it's my future and I'm worried about it.
Or you're not so sure what the consequences are either.
Yeah. When I grew up in the 80s, we were all petrified of nuclear war. That was the other Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Now we're petrified of environmental stuff. Imagine all the young kids lying in bed wondering about this stuff. I was awake at night wondering, I wonder if nuke is happening in my neighborhood. It's real. It's this thing is real. So I'm thinking, like, let's hear it out. Let's hear it out. How do we become conscious human beings? How do we not nuke each other? How do we not kill nature? How do we not do that? How do we create?
I had a comment the other day as I posted something about the protests of the young ones, and someone just said, "Stop scaring the children." And I just went, are you kidding me? Stop scaring the children. As you said, in the early 80s, we were the last Pluto-Saturn conjunction, nuclear weaponry. We're still haunted by missiles and all that kind of stuff, but there was also the AIDS epidemic around the early 80s as well. Like, we can't have sex, we can't partner up, it's going to kill us. Every age, every era has its big alert system. Really, that is really Pluto, isn't it? Uranus, Pluto, going off, in so many different ways.
And we see Saturn, Pluto also with the big world wars. There is something with Saturn on the South Node. There's been this ancestral healing, and there's been a lot of, at least for me personally, there's been a lot of reflection around the world wars. And I was reminded of something my father said. He said, actually, people were quite happy during the war because then they had something we don't have anymore, and it was solidarity. And this is what
working towards something together.
Yes, and that's what we thrive on. And we have so much happening in the transpersonal sector of the chart, with Neptune in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn. There's this real sense. They've been sextiling for a long time, and there's this real sense of, like, these crises are unifying us as a human being, a species.
And they always do. Like, you think about hurricanes and earthquakes and how people come together to help the ones being in because the transpersonal part of the zodiac, the Capricorn, the Pisces, and the Aquarius, is all about selflessness. It's about selflessness. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about we. There's something bigger than you, and it's very healthy for people to have that experience. That makes us happy. I belong somewhere. There's use for me. I can also make a change. I'm somebody. And this is what we're looking for. I think it's, like, when you see it from a spiritual point of view, you actually get a little hopeful. It's like, I kind of like what happens right now. Like, it's not necessarily comfortable, because any crisis is very uncomfortable, emotionally speaking. But let's wait and see. Maybe it develops us as a species. I was just going to say, it actually is the exact moment now that the sun goes into Libra. So I just wanted to note that we knew that when we picked this timing that we would be going through this time. So we will end with a little bit of an intention in not too far, but just so you know, the sun is now in Libra, welcome the sun in Libra. Now let's continue with a look just quickly at Greta's chart. I mean, she has what we call astrologically like some really significant signatures of being a voice of a generation, of being a different voice for sure. She has Mercury retrograde and she has the sun conjunct Chiron. So, you know, as she was growing up, not getting, like, feeling as though there was any results to what the global climate crisis is all about, and doing something about it. How very Chironic of her, hey? It suits that in Capricorn. Against the system, not happy with the system, wounded by the system. So many things come into that story there.
Oh. Very interesting. I mean, she's got a very interesting chart with that stellium in Capricorn, and it squares Aries. And she's this, you know, powerful, strong warrior goddess. You know, she's completely, Aries hates vanity. Any social construct, any kiss my ass, you kiss mine, you know, this kind of thing, that is Aries.
Just get on with it. Just get on and do it, hey?
Stop this power shit, she says, and get out of your vanity. And she's tossing this apple of discord. And it's like, because she breaks up these fake power structures. That's what she does. And, you know, Greta is a perfect example for that. She's like completely, you know, like there's no makeup.
Like, where did this voice come from? What? Wait, hey, where, you know, where did this come from? Yeah, it's amazing.
She's just like, cut the bullshit, because that would be an Aries statement, and let's just keep this real, you know? Keep it real. That's, you know, for me, I've been thinking so much about Aries lately, because we're going to see now in 2019 and 2020 a Pluto square Aries aspect.
Sure. Right.
So I'm kind of excited about that for the coming year, because I think, you know, we will see more of these angry voices that are really coming out and being very precise, and not angry in the sense rage. Maybe that too. We're going to see some rage, but angry in the sense of assertive. Like, hey, you don't even try it. Don't even go there. The way that she faced this the Republican, you know, like, it's like, yeah, I see what you're trying. I see what you're trying to do to me now. I see where you want me to go now, and how you want to manipulate my thoughts. But I'm not going there, because you can't get me. Aries was the strongest of them all. Yeah. So it's time to accept that, you know, like, stop pretending like you did something wrong. Stay in your power. Be clear about, you know. And that's, I think, you know, Greta is.
I mean, she's got a really passionate signature there. I think it doesn't show out in her character, because we are told that she's on the spectrum somewhat, but Venus and Mars in Scorpio, you know, very devoted to what's going on. Oh, my spaceship's going weird in the background. And Eris and Pluto squaring Eris. I think it's because it's getting dark. A trine between Pluto and Eris. So that sort of real kind of power she's got behind her, just kind of, you know, born with it, really. What a voice for the generation. And the Mercury retrograde really standing out, doing it differently than anyone else, you know. What did she start? She started by just sitting there, not going to school, all on her own, you know, and then people just kind of started gathering around her. She was, you know, she just started it all in such a different way, and getting noticed. So an incredible little human.
Yeah, you know, you can see that, you know, you said what happened to her Mars-Venus conjunction? Well, it squares Uranus in
yes, that's true. Yes.
So, I mean, that would be the definition of somebody who has control over the biology, or might even have a disassociation to the biological nature. She could really like, maybe that's required in order to become such a person, you know, like a person who's really, you know, sacrificing herself in many ways for the collective. And you can see that, you know, we don't have her time, but you could see that, you know, Pluto is in Sagittarius, and then she has this string of planets in the transpersonal signs. And that would be, you know, like anything Capricorn as well. It's like there's a bigger duty than my personal needs here. And in order to not have that, like not feel like, well, I don't want to go on television right now. I just want to watch Netflix and eat hot dogs, have that kind of desire running you, because most of us do. It's like, I need some reward now. I've been doing so much.
Yeah.
To have a little detachment to your instinctual, and of course Venus is your pleasure nature. It's like, I can cut off my pleasure, I can cut off my instinct, my anger, and just do this work for humanity. So maybe it's okay that she's on the autistic spectrum. It makes her like that would be a perfect channel in a way.
Yeah,
because
good idea.
I mean, she definitely looks like she's going to sacrifice herself for a larger cause. I mean, we don't know where she's going to be in 3 or 4 years, but it feels like that she's here to stay. And maybe she will lose her power a little bit when her youth is not the same, when she grows into a woman.
I think she's got a big momentum behind what she's doing now. So hopefully she's,
Pluto's been on the moon for the last year, and she's really took off in that period, like.
We're not sure where that moon is exactly, but it could be 6 degrees ahead or 6 degrees back. But yeah, it's been around the sun, it's happening around there, isn't it? I just wanted to highlight that also her nodes are actually on some very significant stars, which are Antares and Aldebaran. And these fixed stars, they're in the constellations of Taurus and Scorpio, but in the signs of Sagittarius and Gemini now. And they actually represent the real warrior kind of, Antares is very much a warrior archetype, right? So her south node being Sagittarius, the warrior for a greater cause. You can see that very much highlighted. And then Gemini at Aldebaran is actually the star that represents like a what do you call it, a bullseye. It's called the bullseye. So there's a target and there's a reason, there's a real bullseye of what she's here for, right? With that warrior spirit to actually be, that's my target and that's where I'm going. So in a sense that we say that it's very fortunate to have points and planets on, these amazing fixed stars. So here she is, she's, famous before the age of 15 and stuff. Anyway, keep an eye on her. Sorry?
She was a teacher before she came here. I mean, she's got this whole Sagittarius Capricorn thing going on, and then Saturn, ruling Capricorn, is opposing Pluto in Sagittarius. She's born post 9/11 with this other, 9/11 was a Saturn opposing,
and that changed the world. Yeah, that's right. There was a Saturn Pluto opposition, as we talk about. Exactly.
Part of the cycle that started in the 80s, right? So now we're coming back to the new cycle between Saturn and Pluto, and she's born way through it.
Yeah, and then Pluto and Saturn, you can see how threatening they are together. Like the combination, how, as they've alerted us to the powers that be in 2001 and back into AIDS and nuclear power and now climate change and all kinds of stuff, other things coming to the fore. So it's not like we haven't lived through them before in that sense. I just wanted to alert, although I haven't put the right chart in, but as we were talking about Greta's North Node in Gemini, again, it's an air sign. It's in amongst the stars of and constellations of Taurus. So just understanding, and I think many of us know that we actually, when we are astrologers, we are very, very aware of the 3 zodiacs. So we've got the tropical zodiac in the inside, the constellational zodiac on the outside, and in the middle there is what we call the sidereal zodiac. I won't go into that, although we just need to know that there are the 3 different versions, and the constellational zodiac, the sidereal zodiac, and the tropical zodiac, in a sense, are different. Let me just say, tropical zodiac and sidereal zodiac are different by 25 degrees, and the constellational zodiac, in a sense, this is where you work with fixed stars, where the stars are in the zodiac that you're actually working with, because that's all moved backwards in our in our lifetimes and continues to separate. So being aware of where the stars are, of course, is very important, I believe. Now we better move on so we don't make this too long a session. But I wanted to talk about something that's really sort of come to my mind, and it goes with, again, the threat of who we are and where we are on this planet in this day and age. And just recently I was watching, and maybe some of you saw, I think it's called One Strange Rock, and it's about astronauts talking about their experiences of seeing Earth from above. And they're the astronauts in the International Space Station, not the ones that have gone to the moon or what have you, but the ones that are actually circling the globe on a constant basis, and they report what they've seen from up there, and they report seeing the atmosphere, and what shocks them the most when they're up there is seeing the atmosphere as a really thin blue line. You know, that really kind of gets them. They're looking at it and going, oh, I didn't realize that we're actually in such a thin blue line. And so I've got this little kind of animation here of what they do see as they're circling the globe. And of course, that's the thin blue line there that we're talking about. And that atmosphere, they say that we can drive out of that. If we were going to go in our cars at 60 miles an hour, we'd be up and beyond and out into outer space in 12 minutes. So it is not a big amount of atmosphere that we have. It is a tiny thin blue line that holds us together, so to speak. I'm just going to play that again because it's so cool.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, that holds us together, so to speak, and that is so fickle and could, you know, sort of change in an instant. And really that's what, you know, the David Attenboroughs and the Gretas and, you know, the people that are looking into the science of it all is how fickle the planet is, and what we're doing to it is, in a sense, it shouldn't be able to be done, right? We should be looking after it, you know, in so many, much more words, you know. Here's a few lines of what the astronauts have also said about, you know, of course, once they're up there, they see how it really makes us all feel so connected. You look out the window, and in my case, I saw the thinness of the atmosphere, and it really hit home. And I thought, wow, this is a fragile ball of life that we're living on. It is hard for you to appreciate that until you are outside of it. I mean, for us, yeah, we see this blue, endless blue if it's a blue sky, don't we? It looks like it never ends, but here it is. This is the reality. You know, can read a few more. The thin blue layer is a common ground, a necessary, vital, existential space that must be protected for our common survival. I mean, that kind of going through and researching all this just, you know, kind of really gets to you, because what we're looking at and into the future is, of course, the age of what we call Aquarius, you know, looking at things from above. Saturn will be moving into Aquarius. Saturn and Jupiter will meet in Aquarius. And this is now a really big thing that we'll talk about much more as it gets closer, of course, but heralding a beginning of a 200-year cycle of Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions in what we call the air signs. And they begin in Aquarius, so at the end of 2020. So again, you know, I don't know, I think visually it's so beautiful, but again, it really does show us how fickle it is. And then, of course, it sort of stems from that whole idea of seeing Earth from the moon back in 1968. And I think I put oh no, hang on, the chart, I've got some charts mixed up here, but I had a chart of that thin blue line here. This one. It's called Earthrise. And it's interesting that Chiron, the node is where Chiron is now. I mean, that was back then. Anyway, just this is now 68, and we've moved way further on. You know, how much closer are we to understanding the kind of fickleness of what's going on? And then, so looking ahead, Sol, you can help me out with this. The things that are coming up, I haven't put everything in. I haven't put all the new moons and the full moons in. There's enough reporting about that going on. So we're going to kind of concentrate on the bigger story that's behind everything else. Of course, all of those things are important, but there's a Mercury retrograde coming up in Scorpio that won't be till October 31st, which is kind of cool for in Scorpio on Halloween, as we know. And there will be what we call an occultation. So the cazimi of when the Sun and Mercury meet is going to be an occultation. Now, the last one happened in 2016 in Taurus. Occultations always occur on the node of the planet, like the Venus transits happen on her nodes, which are in Gemini and Sagittarius. And for Mercury, it's actually Taurus and Scorpio. So, you know, again, how prominent Mercury is in this next quarter, about, again, the connecting all the sort of disparate pieces together as well for all of us somehow. Venus and Jupiter meet at the galactic center at the end of November at 2728 of Sagittarius. Now, if that's something to, let's say, set your intentions or goals to, of the meeting of these two beautiful planets in the evening sky, they will be bright. You're going to have to go out and see them. That is at the end of November. Jupiter, just before Jupiter moves into Capricorn, okay? And if we think about the last time Jupiter was in Capricorn, it was 12 years ago in 2008. And of course, 2008, we know that as the global financial crisis and a few things that kind of led up to the, let's say, the over-the-top workings with our financial systems and all the investors, when Jupiter and Pluto met at the end of Sagittarius, that's the last time they met. That's a different cycle. Jupiter and Pluto down here, they're destined to meet next year at 25 of Capricorn. So their last meeting was at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. And we can see how, you know, that Sagittarius can be that hedonistic, you know, doing too much, too big, too much over the top. And that's what our financial systems did. So what are they going to do now as they meet in Capricorn in April next year? So this is a bit of a timeline of what's coming up. So Jupiter moves into Capricorn. There'll be a lot more that we will work on with that. And then solar eclipses for Christmas at 4 degrees of Capricorn, just as Jupiter enters. A lunar eclipse then just before the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is what we call the great Capricorn stellium that is building, and will, in a sense, peak in mid-January 2020. So we're not far from that, Sol, are we? It's not like it's all of a sudden going to change or get worse or get better or whatever. We're already in it, and we're already living it. Yeah.
And I think we've been in it since that Uranus-Pluto square in 2012-15. You know, that's when a lot of the things really, you know, that, you know, Uranus opening up that big underground of information, things becoming known to us that was previously hidden for our attention, you know. There was this thing I saw this morning that, we had people talking about this stuff for like 25 years ago. Why is this suddenly now something that we are really paying attention to? And it's the zeitgeist, you know, now the time is ready for a collective initiation where we all, you know, more responsible or, you know, conscious individuals, and how that works. For us all. There's been 3 retrogrades of Mercury this year. The first one was in Pisces, the second one in Cancer, and the third one now in Scorpio. And, you know, for these Mercury retrogrades to be in water signs, I think it's quite intense and challenging because it has to do with our psychic nature and how we process information. So I think, you know, a lot of this, a lot of this information is pretty scary and intimidating to get to, know. It's like, it's not easy information for us to handle. So these Mercury retrograde phases are really a good indicator that we need to take care of our psychic health in a much better way and become more, aware of what we are taking in and how we are taking in information. It can be pretty challenging for some of us when we're starting to wake up to a conscious, collective reality, and we become conscious of the collective energies. It's pretty much the most challenging phase anyone goes through.
Yeah.
It's really, you can have so many things. What is this? Like, oh my God, I am not feeling happy about this. You can definitely go into the collective depression for sure. It's all about willingness to try to see what is this and how can we live with it. I mean, we're going through a phase of crisis. How you react to that has a lot to do for your personal life. You can still have a great life even though, we are going through this massive readjustment and correction. I mean, we don't have to get destroyed by it.
Yeah. Well said. I like what you said, the collective depression and then, looking at it, it's not going to destroy us. We'll rise up better, stronger, or again, looking that way ahead is the best option here. Just wanted to bring something else up. Saturn in Aquarius, it's a 29-year cycle, of course, wherever Saturn goes. But, in 91, 92, when it was there last time, it was just the beginning of the internet. So in a sense, we're kind of having the beginning, the 30-year return of being on the net, right? And so, how the world is changing that. So many cycles coming to fruition or ending in the next few months and beginning again. It's really quite a liminal time, as many are saying, of course. So, and you can see why, big cycles coming to, their next round, so to speak. Hang on. So I'm going to kind of wrap it up a bit now because we've been going for over an hour. It so quickly happens. Hey? Is there anything else you'd like to add? Because I just want to kind of put together a few things that are coming up with the CIA before we move on.
Yeah, no, I just, in this time, it's very important, I think, especially for me. My spiritual practice is probably the most important thing that I do these days, just to keep sane, because I think it's super complicated. I also want to inspire everybody, who's working with astrology and promotes astrology to stay away from this sensationalism. Because we're already scared enough, huh? It's okay, we're all sort of like, oh God, I hope this works out, it's like, where's the miracle, So, I mean, just be mindful of how sensitive we all are. And I'm, I have to do my own kind of, cleaning my own attitudes work, I have to work on myself all the time. And then it's, that's what I hope for the world, that we can just come out and have truth, but without judgment, because that would make it easier for all of us. And I think, take care of yourself, go in and work with whatever energy is stuck in your body. Breathe.
That's a good point. What's stuck?
Yeah, what's stuck? All these ending cycle energies is like you letting go of a lot of stuff that you've been carrying for a long time on the inner levels as well. It's like, just get it over with and just breathe and just heal and just, be patient. There will be new cycles happening, but we're going into a pretty much wake up, smell the coffee time where we all grow up and become more mature adults. And it's a good thing.
Even if we're 80 years old. Whatever.
And even if you don't want to, like I do, because I want to be a rebel.
Yeah, well, there's the rebel is there, of course, chiming in all the time. So, the stellium will square Eris. As we see her here, she's very big part of sort of bringing out the individual as a voice, as a cause, as a spark of change and shifting the system. So again, as we've said, everyone's got a role. Be inspired by your role. I think with this Jupiter square Neptune at the moment, be inspired by what your role is. You know, whatever, I mean, you don't have to be doing big things or be famous or whatever. You can be inspired by whatever you're doing, you know, from home, backyard, you know, local communities, what have you. So there's many ways to sort of play your part, I suppose is the word. So I'm going to just kind of go through a few things that are happening at the CIA. Our next webinar coming up for all members. There's a lot of members online, so thank you for all being part. They're always relating back to me how great the information, what they're learning so far. So that's coming up this Saturday, Unlocking Quintiles and Septiles, which we haven't put in the charts today we were looking at, but they're there. And if you want to kind of get into, say, the more magical sort of work of astrology, you want to know how to look at quintiles and septiles, the fifth and seventh harmonic, as we call them, sort of putting together things in the chart that we don't necessarily look at. And Alex Trenoweth has got some great stories to share with us about that, to teach us all of that. This is a selection of what we've got coming up. Mercury cycles as well with Adam Summer. It was cancelled the other week, but it will be back just before the next retrograde. So we're going to get more in tune with the retrograde and the transit coming up. And then our first Vedic webinar, which will be exploring the king of your chart with Sonal Saktiva in the UK. And then just what comes up is epigenetics webinar that we had with 18 Man. I think it's kind of been voted the best webinar on our website this year. The masterclass of Venus star point Leo with Ariel Goodman. That's all about working with the Venus star, and her point will be in Gemini next year, also playing a big role that she did also as a transit in 2012. So 2020 and 2012 have got, you know, look at my background going crazy, the harmony of what was going on in 2012 as a pivotal year of change. So is 2020 through Venus. So more about those. And then in Melbourne, for anyone that's in Melbourne, we have got an amazing mathematician, a cosmic mathematician coming our way for a 2-day weekend, Jane 108. If you're not following him on Facebook, you should. It's Jane Mathemagics 108. The stuff that he shares, you know, connecting as astrology does, you know, us to the, let's say, more invisible ways of nature and how it works is really what I also see astrology working like as well, you know. So he's got a lot to teach us about these sacred symbols, magic squares, labyrinths, divine proportions, and again a lot of information that we can then in a sense adapt the learning and the ideas to the astrology that we know. Okay. And we've just announcing, we haven't started anything yet, but we are having our retreat next year, April the 2nd to the 6th in Healesville, Victoria. Again, look at this face going on. I have to put my light on, or I'm really zoning out here. That's so cool. Anyway, and it's just when Saturn goes into Aquarius and at the weekend of Jupiter and Pluto conjunction. So we're planning a really cool retreat up in our favorite place in the hills. So put that in your diaries, and of course members get discounts and priorities for the rooms available there. And having said that, just for the next few days and because of the equinox, to join our gold membership, we're offering a discount today. And for the next few days, it's usually $180. Now, all the things I've talked about, you have a discount to all the webinars I've talked about are part of your membership. So if you go, I'll put the link in the data here to get, what is it, $36 off for a year subscription, which is highly worthwhile, especially if you are wanting to learn astrology in so many different ways and with different people, not just one astrologer, but like the varied agents that we have all over the world, like Sol. So it's pretty cool, and it's a really great way to, again, learn a lot of astrology as you go. So that's it from me as my spaceship turns to darkness. How timing is amazing. This is now, I will finish up with, the blessings of the equinox, but a mandala, a crystal mandala that was made for us from one of our new agents, Greg George in Queensland. Agent 125. So how beautiful is that? And that was especially made for the CIA. So it's our own personal mandala. So Sol, how about we finish with a little bit of some words from you, as you're very good at putting together, intentions for the collective, personally and collectively, about the next 3 months for all of us to, continue doing the best we can, being the best we can, and enjoying the rest of the next few months. So happy equinox from me, everybody. And just quickly over to you, Sol.
Well, it's all about alignment. And since Saturn is in Capricorn, we start to understand the principle of correction. We start to understand the principle of alignment. And in yoga, the spine is the highway of the path of spirit to enter the body. So just imagine yourself being aligned, every center from the root. You can breathe down into your root. Take a full breath and release. Saturn in Capricorn is all about yoga. Do your yoga, do your breathing, do your connection. Connect with spirit through your spine. And then you go a little further up to the back side of your navel. And you breathe, you inhale, you expand all the way down. And with every exhale from this place, you release the past, the things you are carrying that you no longer need to carry. The breath is a death. It's a chance and an opportunity to let the past go. So with every exhale, the poison in your body is released. So breathe deeply into your navel and let it go. Now move your center of attention to the back of your heart. It was the heart that was weighed on the scales. Is your heart heavy or is it lifted? This is the equinox, the balance between good and evil. We are human beings. Not everything we do is pure. And it's okay. The heart manages to keep space for everything we've done that we term mistakes. So breathe in into your heart and let that judgment of yourself go. In love, we hold space for everything, even our own imperfections, especially our own imperfections. The more conscious we become, the more aware of ourselves we are. That is not just an easy thing. It's a heavy weight, a heavy responsibility to carry on your shoulders if you believe that everything you put out into the world, you're fully and wholly responsible for. Don't carry the world on your shoulders. Move your consciousness to the back of your throat, to the neck. Feel the energy around your neck and breathe in into this space. and see yourself in a position where you communicate without shame, without fear, without guilt, without worry. You communicate in a direct and clear way that can only happen without guilt. So breathe in and let your belly, your heart, your throat be released from all the tensions in the body. Relax all the way down. Now move your attention to the crown. This beautiful mandala we see now reminds me of the crown. The crown, which is the flower, the antenna that connects us all to everyone else. We are all connected. It's our heavenly roots. Feel the space above your head. And ask the gods, what is it that I need for this coming season? What quality do I need to bring into my energy in order to be willing to continue walking this path we call life? Do you need more clarity? Is it love? More compassion to yourself? Strength? More energy? More courage? Whatever it is, be open to what it is. And let that quality enter into your heart and become one with you. And with every exhale, you bring that quality with you into your life, as if your atmosphere suddenly is embodied with a new quality. It could be the quality of courage, of trust, assertiveness, communication. We are all individuals, so it's individually in particular for you. And with those words, I wish you a happy equinox. Whatever you need, let that be. Receive what you need and bring it forth into life. I wish you all the best. Yes.